It had been months since Ella moved into Dr. Amos' house. And in that time, everything had changed. She no longer smiled like she used to. She no longer danced around the kitchen like she did when her mom cooked pancakes on Saturday mornings. Now, Ella spent her days sweeping floors, washing clothes, and doing chores from sunrise to sunset, all because Molly, Dr. Amos' wife, made her do it. Every day, Ella wore old clothes and carried sadness in her heart. But even in all that pain, she held on to one small hope: going back to school. Her dream had always been to study law and become a great lawyer, just like the ones in her dad's books. Before the accident, her parents had helped her apply to Landmark College, one of the best schools in the country. And just before they died, she got the acceptance letter. She remembered that day so clearly. Her father had hugged her tight and whispered, "Your future is shining bright, my star." That memory was like a light inside her heart, one that refused to go out, no matter how dark things became. One evening, after finishing all her chores, Ella sat quietly in the corner of the kitchen. Her hands were rough from scrubbing the floors, and her legs ached. She looked outside the window, watching the stars. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away and made a brave decision. She needed to speak to Dr. Amos. Later that night, after dinner, when Molly had gone to bed, Ella tiptoed down the hallway and knocked gently on the study door. "Knock, knock." "Come in," said Dr. Amos, his voice soft. Ella walked in slowly, her hands behind her back, eyes to the floor. Dr. Amos was sitting behind a big wooden desk, flipping through some patient files. He looked up and smiled a little when he saw her. "Yes, Ella." "What is it?" She swallowed hard, trying to find her voice. Her heart was beating fast. Uncle Amos," she said shyly. "I wanted to ask about something. If it's okay." "Of course, my dear." "Sit down," he said, pointing to the chair across from him. Ella sat down, her fingers nervously twisting the edge of her dress. "I was wondering," she began, "about my school admission. Before my parents, before the accident, I got accepted into Landmark College. I had the letter in my bag, and I was hoping, maybe, you saw it?" Dr. Amos blinked. His face looked surprised for a moment. "You still remember that?" he asked softly. Ella nodded. "It's the only thing I've been holding on to," she whispered. "I want to go. I want to study. My parents would have wanted me to." Dr. Amos leaned back in his chair. He looked at her, really looked at her. For the first time in weeks, he saw not just a girl doing chores in his house but a daughter who had lost everything and still dared to dream. He sighed. "Yes, Ella," he finally said. "I found the letter in your bag. You were accepted. Full scholarship. Your father was so proud when he spoke about it at the hospital." Ella's eyes lit up. A tiny smile broke through her tired face. "But," Dr. Amos continued gently, "things have been complicated. With your parents gone, and with Molly not very welcoming, I wasn't sure how to handle it all." "I can take care of myself," Ella said quickly. "I'll do chores and study. I want a chance." Dr. Amos was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood up and walked over to a locked drawer. He pulled out a brown envelope and placed it on the table in front of her. "Your documents are here," he said. "All safe. If you truly want to go, I'll help you. I'll take care of the rest." Ella's eyes filled with tears, not of pain this time, but of hope. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." But outside the door, someone was listening. Molly. And her eyes were full of fire. Because no one made decisions in her house without her permission. The rain had stopped that morning, and for the first time in weeks, the sky looked a little less sad. Ella sat quietly on the cold floor of the laundry room, her fingers red and wrinkled from washing clothes. She had grown thinner, her cheeks hollow, and her once bright eyes now looked tired. But deep inside, there was still a small light, a tiny hope that refused to go out. Dr. Amos walked into the house, closing the door gently behind him. He was home early, and that was rare. Usually, he worked long hours at the hospital. When he saw Ella sitting with a basket of wet clothes, his heart ached. "Ella," he said softly, crouching beside her. She looked up slowly, unsure if he was here to scold her or check her work. But when she saw his eyes, kind and warm, her fear eased just a little. "How are you feeling today?" he asked. Ella hesitated, then whispered, "I'm okay, sir." "You don't have to call me sir," he smiled. "You can call me Uncle Amos." Ella gave a small nod, but didn't smile. "Not yet." He sat beside her on the floor. "I've been thinking about something for a while now," he said. "You're a smart girl, Ella. Your parents would have wanted you to continue your education. They were so proud when you got into Landmark College, remember?" At the mention of her parents, her eyes welled up. She remembered the joy on their faces when she got the admission letter. Her father had hugged her so tightly. Her mother had danced around the house, crying tears of joy. Now, they were both gone. Just thinking about them made her chest hurt. "I remember," Ella whispered. Dr. Amos nodded. "I know things have been hard since they left. And I know, life hasn't been fair to you in this house. I see it. I may not speak up every time, but I see it." Ella's eyes widened. Was he talking about Molly? "I can't take back what has happened," he continued. "But I want to give you something that no one can ever take away. Your education. Your future." Ella looked at him carefully, still unsure if this was a dream. "I spoke to a friend of mine," he said. "He works at Landmark. If we act quickly, we can reapply for you. The school agreed to take you back in next semester. I'll pay your fees. You'll have a place in the girls' hostel so you don't have to stay here anymore." Her heart stopped for a moment. Then it started to beat fast, like a drum in a parade. "Really?" she whispered. "You'll send me back to school?" He nodded. "Yes, child. I should have done this sooner. I'm sorry I let things get this bad. But I'm going to fix it now." Ella's lips trembled. Her hands shook as she dropped the last piece of clothing in the basket. Slowly, she reached for Dr. Amos's hand and held it tightly. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you, Uncle Amos." He gave her hand a gentle squeeze. "You deserve better, Ella. I may not be your real father, but I'll try to protect you like one." For the first time in months, a tear fell from Ella's eye that wasn't from pain. It was from hope. A warm feeling spread through her chest, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She wasn't free yet, but now, she could see the gate. She could see the road. That night, she sat by the small window in her room, watching the stars. She didn't mind that her blanket was thin or that Molly hadn't given her dinner. Her stomach was empty, but her heart was full. Because tomorrow could be different. Because someone finally believed in her again. And because now, she had hope. It was a quiet morning. The sun peeked through the curtains. Birds chirped outside, but inside the house, something dark was brewing. Dr. Amos sat at the dining table with a cup of coffee in his hand, reading Ella's school documents. He smiled gently. After all she had been through, she still had hope. She still wanted to study, to become someone. And today, he had finally decided he was going to send her back to school. She deserved it. Just then, Molly came into the room. She was wearing her long silk robe, her face still puffy from sleep, and her mood already sour. What are you smiling at this early? She snapped, pouring herself some tea. Dr. Amos didn't answer right away. He looked at her, then held up Ella's admission papers. I've decided. I'm sending Ella to Landmark College. It was her parents' dream. And now, it's mine too. Molly froze. Her eyes narrowed as she walked closer. What did you say? I've paid the first fees, Amos continued. She starts next week. I'll handle everything. She deserves a future, Molly. Molly slammed her teacup on the table. The cup cracked, spilling hot tea everywhere. You're joking, right? That girl? School? While I'm here cooking, cleaning, and working my bones off. You don't cook, Molly, Amos said calmly. And you don't clean. That was it. Molly's face twisted with rage. So now you're taking her side? That ungrateful brat? After all I've done for you? What have you done, Molly? Locked her in a room? Starved her? Made her cry every night? Don't you dare talk to me like that, she shouted, her voice shaking the walls. Dr. Amos stood up. I've made my decision. This isn't up for debate. But Molly wasn't done. She stormed to the window, pulled it shut hard, then turned with fire in her eyes. Oh, you think you're smart, Amos. You think you can just save that little witch and everything will be fine? She's ruining our marriage, can't you see? You treat her better than your own wife. Dr. Amos looked at her with tired eyes. That's because she's never tried to ruin my life. Molly laughed bitterly. Fine. You want her to have a future? Let's see how far she gets. Amos froze. Molly, what are you talking about? But she didn't answer. She walked away quickly, like a storm in a red dress. And in that very moment, something inside her snapped. It was a cold, quiet night. The moon peeked out from behind the clouds, and the streetlights flickered like they were afraid. Most people were asleep. But not Molly. She wasn't in her soft bed or cuddling beside her husband. No! She was driving fast, wearing all black, and her eyes looked colder than ice. She gripped the steering wheel tightly, her lips pressed together like she was hiding something big. She didn't tell Dr. Amos where she was going. And she made sure Ella was locked in her room before she left. After 30 minutes of driving through dark, empty roads, Molly arrived at a strange place. It looked like an old warehouse, but inside, it was filled with noise and lights and bad people. It was a secret underground club where the law didn't matter. Men laughed loudly, throwing money around. Women danced in short dresses. Guns were hidden under the tables. The air smelled like danger. Molly walked straight to the back room. She wasn't scared because she had done this before. She knocked twice. A tall man opened the door. His face was filled with scars. His name was Venom, a man feared by everyone. Once a mafia bodyguard, now a rich businessman, Venom worked for the most dangerous man in the city, Nathan, a former convict who had killed, stolen, and destroyed lives. And now, he was free, and richer than ever. Venom raised his eyebrows. Well, if it isn't the good doctor's wife. What brings you crawling back here, Molly? Molly smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was sharp. I need a favor. And I know you only help people who bring special offers. Venom chuckled darkly and leaned back in his chair. I'm listening. Molly pulled out her phone and showed a photo of Ella's sweet, innocent Ella, smiling with her hair tied in a little bun. She's 18. Pretty. Quiet. Blindly obedient. A perfect rose waiting to be picked. I want to sell her. Venom looked at the photo and whistled. She's beautiful. But why would you sell a child like this? She's not mine, Molly snapped. She's just a girl my husband took in out of pity. He's wasting money feeding her, clothing her, pretending she's his own. But I see the truth. She's useless. We can't even afford our own dreams, and he wants to raise some charity case? Venom laughed louder now, throwing his head back. You're colder than I thought, Molly. I need money, Molly said firmly. I want her gone. And I know your boss has a thing for girls like her. Venom's smile disappeared. You want to give her to Nathan? Molly nodded. Venom was silent for a moment. Everyone knew Nathan was dangerous even to his own people. But he was lonely. His last girlfriend ran away. He wanted a wife. Someone quiet. Someone who wouldn't fight back. Someone beautiful. You realize, Venom said slowly, if she goes to Nathan, she will never come back. He doesn't return things. I don't care, Molly replied coldly. She's a burden. If you can arrange it, I want $50,000. No less. Venom stared at her. Then he smiled a wicked smile. Deal. Molly stood up. I'll bring her to the Golden Casino next Friday night. Make sure Nathan is there. Venom nodded. Consider it done. As Molly walked out, the door closed behind her with a loud click. She didn't feel guilty. She didn't feel sad. All she felt was relief. Soon, Ella would be gone. And she'd finally have the money to live the life she always wanted. Meanwhile, back at home, Ella sat on the cold floor of her room, hugging her knees. She didn't know what was coming. But the night was already planning to steal her away. The morning sun peeked through the curtain, but Ella didn't feel its warmth. She sat quietly on the cold kitchen floor, peeling potatoes with a shaky hand. Her fingers were sore, and her back ached, but she dared not complain. If Molly heard her grumble, the punishment would be worse. Suddenly, heavy heels clacked against the tiled floor. Ella froze. Ella! Molly's sharp voice echoed like a slap. Put that down. We're going out. Ella blinked in confusion. Ma'am? I said we're going out. Get up. Change your clothes. Something neat but not flashy. Molly was already turning away, her expensive perfume leaving a trail behind her. Ella stood slowly. Her heart thumped in her chest. Molly never took her out. Never. Not even to the market. What was going on? As she walked to the tiny room where she slept, Ella's mind raced. Where were they going? Why today? She picked her neatest dress, a plain blue one that her mother had sewn before the accident. It was old but clean. As she buttoned it up, she caught her reflection in the cracked mirror. Her eyes had dark circles under them, and her cheeks looked hollow. She didn't look like the cheerful girl she once was. Molly stood by the door when Ella came out. She eyed her up and down, then clicked her tongue. You look like a ghost. Fix your hair. Ella quickly combed her curls back into a neat bun and followed Molly outside. They didn't speak during the ride. Molly's face was stiff, her fingers tapping on the steering wheel like she was counting something. Ella sat quietly, hands in her lap, watching the trees and houses fly by. They weren't heading to the market. Or the hospital. Or school. This was a different road. Ella's stomach turned. "Ma'am," she said softly, "where are we going?" Molly didn't look at her. "You'll see." The streets began to change. They weren't in the quiet part of town anymore. The houses were replaced by tall, glass buildings. Neon lights flashed from stores, bars, and strange clubs. The air outside looked thick and smoky. People in dark clothes laughed loudly on sidewalks. Some men stood in corners, holding cigars and watching every car that passed. Ella had never been here before. She hugged herself tighter. "Molly, where are we?" she whispered, voice trembling. "We're almost there," Molly said with a strange smile. "You'll thank me later." But Ella didn't feel thankful. She felt like her chest was being crushed. Her stomach twisted. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Soon, the car slowed down in front of a huge building. It sparkled with lights, brighter than anything Ella had ever seen. A golden sign read, "The Dragon's Palace Casino." Music thumped from inside. Two large men stood at the door, both wearing black suits and sunglasses even though the sun was already down. One of them leaned down to the car window and looked at Molly. Without saying a word, he nodded and opened the door. "This is it," Molly said, stepping out. Ella didn't move. Her legs felt frozen. Molly turned back and snapped, "I said out. Don't make me drag you." Ella slowly stepped out of the car. Her eyes were wide with fear. The smell of smoke and strong perfume filled the air. People in glittering dresses and heavy jewelry walked past her, laughing and drinking. Men in fancy suits looked at her, some with curiosity, others with dark smiles. She clung to Molly's arm, whispering, "Please, can we go back home?" But Molly didn't even look at her. "No one wants a crybaby," she muttered under her breath. "Just smile and be quiet." As they walked into the casino, Ella's ears were filled with the sounds of slot machines ringing, coins clinking, and drunken laughter. The lights inside were red and gold, almost too bright to see clearly. Everything felt fake. Like a place that looked fun on the outside but had something rotten hiding underneath. Molly led her down a hallway, past the crowd, and toward a dark door guarded by two more big men. One of them opened it without a word. Inside was a private lounge. Thick red curtains. A table full of drinks. And a man. He sat in a leather chair, legs crossed, cigar in hand. He was tall, with sharp eyes and tattoos peeking out from under his sleeves. He didn't smile. He just stared at Ella. Her breath caught in her throat. Molly pushed her forward gently, almost like she was offering a gift. "This," she said with a grin, "is the girl I told you about." The man didn't answer. He just kept staring. Ella stepped back, trembling. She didn't know who he was, but something told her, deep in her heart, that she was in terrible danger. The man was tall and strong, dressed in all black. He had tattoos crawling up his neck and arms like snakes. His face was cold, and his eyes looked like they had never seen kindness. His name was Nathan. Ella didn't know who he was, but she could feel something dark. The way the other men bowed when he moved, the way the room went quiet when he stood up, it told her everything. This man was powerful. This man was dangerous. And for some reason, she was here to meet him. Nathan's eyes slowly looked at her, from her messy braids to her old shoes. He said nothing at first. Just stared. Then he spoke. "This is the girl?" His voice was deep like thunder. It made Ella shiver. Molly nodded quickly. "Yes, boss. Just as you asked. Young, quiet, and fresh. No family. No trouble." Nathan walked slowly toward Ella. His black boots thudded with every step. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. Ella felt like she couldn't breathe. "What's your name?" he asked. Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but the words were stuck. Nathan raised one eyebrow. "Cat got your tongue?" Molly slapped Ella's back lightly and whispered, "Answer him." Ella swallowed hard and finally spoke in a soft whisper. "My name is..." Ella. Nathan nodded. Pretty name. Pretty face. He looked at Molly. Leave us. Molly hesitated. But. I said leave. Without another word, Molly turned and walked out. The big door closed behind her, and now it was just Ella and the scary man. Nathan sat back down in his big chair and looked at her again. You scared? Ella nodded slowly. She couldn't lie. Her knees were shaking. Nathan chuckled softly, but it wasn't a happy laugh. Good. That means you're smart. Ella blinked. Why am I here? He didn't answer right away. He leaned forward and rested his elbows on his knees. Then he said something that made her heart stop. You were sold to me. Ella's mouth dropped open. Her whole body froze. What? What do you mean? Nathan smiled, but it was the scariest smile she had ever seen. You belong to me now, little dove. And from tonight, your old life is over. Tears filled Ella's eyes. Her hands clutched her bag tighter. But. I'm just a girl. I didn't do anything wrong. Nathan stood up slowly. He walked over and placed a hand on her head like she was a pet. No, you didn't. But that doesn't matter in my world. He turned and walked toward the window, looking out into the dark night. In my world, the innocent suffer, and the weak survive only if they're useful. Ella stood frozen, tears slipping down her cheeks. Her heart was broken. Her dreams shattered. And she knew, deep inside, her life would never be the same again.